to my market update, and like I said in my previous video, I would update the channel as we approach the tether dominance 1618, and I was saying in the previous video that it would be extremely likely that tether dominance would fall below this one measured from this high and this low here, because in what we've seen previously, this is just a probabilistic thing from our measures in other instances of the same type of measurement. This one level is generally broken in quick succession, I guess, from being tested, right? Should it be bullish. And what have we seen here? We've seen that the level has broken, and a lot of the market at the moment, especially our altcoins like Ethereum, have skyrocketed from the 0618 area of the macro move, measured from high here to low here. And now it is sitting at the rebound zone of the measured move from this swing high and the swing low here. But at the moment, I'm more interested actually in the full move from this high to this low 0618 region, because there is a supply region here, and we do have a little bit of room left to go before we hit 1618. And it just so happens that these things coincide with each other. There's a bit of confluence here with this level rejecting, and unfortunately I closed this trade early on to lock in some profits just in case we did a revisit to the low. So that was a mistake, obviously. However, if you want to see my trades at the moment, you can see that if you add up all of these values, it equates up to approximately 120 something thousand US dollars. So we're in healthy profits at the moment, but we won't be taking profits just yet. What we're waiting for, as I mentioned in previous videos, is this line, or the value of the dominance, touching 1618, right? And that will be a point in the market where I think there's an extreme high risk that there will be a pullback to this one level, and we can reassess the market from there, and perhaps the measure from this high and this low can project to 1618 out here, and that will be potentially the final move in this market. What we're seeing at the moment with Tau, this isn't the chart that I want. The chart that I want is this one. So at the moment, obviously there was a rebound zone here. Let me measure that for you guys, that we settled under and consolidated. Also a diagonal trend line that we were testing before breaking and actually going to what is called the RZ main. I'm using this value because it actually has confluence here with a lot of price action on the left side here. So what we need to do is actually take out not only RZ main, but these highs here that have been rejected multiple times. So these will act as stiff resistance points that we need to turn into support and continue up. However, what we are seeing at the moment is a bit concerning in terms of how much continuation we'll see here. So once we see this touch here, you might see a bit tensor, maybe go up to this level, maybe even beyond a little bit, and then we get a pretty decent sized pullback, unless somehow this pushes up extremely fast without the tether dominance moving too much each time. So there's a concentration of capital moving into bit tensor. But you know, we'll have to see where the price is and accept whatever the market gives us once this level is tagged. What are we seeing for Bitcoin at the moment? At the moment, we do have a little bit more room to go up here. However, it won't be anything substantial, I don't think. We might see a move above the all-time high and a pullback into this area before the final push up. I'm not too sure how this is going to play out. Perhaps we can push up to the $120,000 region, even a little bit higher, before retesting this high. And that will be that one retest on tether dominance, which is here. And then a spring all the way to new all-time highs, and then finishing off the market, right? But at the moment, I think that is sort of where my head is at. And the common, I guess, idea here is it doesn't matter where this price is. I'm just suspecting there's a really high risk of a major pullback once this 1618 region is tagged. And obviously there could be an extension beyond this point, but that's when risk is very high, and de-risking or hedging your longs would be something that I do. I'm not going to provide any guidance there on what you do with your trades. At the moment, NIA is moving quite well. There was a retest of this diagonal yellow line, and I did add a little bit of source into this trade, and now it is moving upwards. And what can we expect from something like near going into that 1618 region for tether dominance? Perhaps we can see a move up to this region here, right? This supply region, and that will act as a point of resistance for the price, right? But in saying that, there is a large potential still for altcoins to perform extremely well, because actually in this move, that's when prices appreciated most for altcoins, because Bitcoin ends up ranging but in an upwards fashion, and that inspires bullishness and purchasing of riskier plays on the market. And what we're seeing at the moment is Bitcoin dominance dropping for the first time in a long time, since back here actually. It's been 125 days since we've really seen like a substantial drop on Bitcoin dominance. With this being more noise, this is actually like a steep decline. But I can expect Bitcoin dominance to continue to potentially increase should Bitcoin start pushing towards that $150,000 level. But we'll have to wait and see. Something that I've been eyeing off since I've been watching Pepe, I did take a trade down here for Pepe and I sold around this region, is a completion of this Elliott wave. And this is like a yellow line that I've drawn far back, like down, like up here, and it's actually playing very well. I'm not trading it, I'm just observing this, because there is potential that some of these coins have topped, and you can see that there's a lot of confluence in this channel where these lows are mixed in with this ABC correction potentially, and we are rejecting from this level, and we're very close to that tether dominance pivot point, right? And that's going to pull this backwards. Let's have a look at Solana. Solana is at a level that I've been eyeing as a potential topping region. I do think there might be a little bit more gas in this move. If we were to, well, that's where this orange boxes come from. If we were to continue this move, I suspect similarly to what we saw in Pepe, which is we've seen this massive, move from Solana and a confirmed breakdown of this level. This is technically in a downtrend, right? With high and lower low respective to this low over here, in respect to this low over here. And what we're about to shape up to do, unless Solana takes out this high, is create a lower high here at that pivot point on tether dominance and a shoot down, and hoping we get a final push from the tether dominance from this one region once that correction occurs, and pushing up higher. That is a maybe at the moment. Let's have a look at stonks. We can see that for the stock market, we're being contained on the S&P 500. This is the futures chart at the rebound zone main, which is the 0618 region of the move, and we've held this place perfectly. But what I'm seeing here is like a lot of strength, right? That could potentially move the price action towards the ultimate target that I've had for the S&P 500 at the $6,350 to $400 region. It could deviate above slightly as well. But we also need to be cautious here that there could potentially be a rollover back into a bear market. Why I think that's less likely, because this is more indicative, I guess, of a capitulative event, and there has been a lot of support when it comes to this level. I don't think there's been a monthly candle quite like this in a very, very long time for the stock market, especially on a big index like the S&P 500. Yeah, this is like one of the biggest weeks in the history of the S&P 500, even compared to COVID, right? This recovery has been quite swift. So the expectation of an immediate rollover might be jumping the gun, and the actual target of 6.3-ish to 6.4 thousand S&P 500 is still on the table. I think that is a very likely target, and perhaps Bitcoin will be taken to the $150,000 region within the span of now and when we reach that 6.3k-ish level for the S&P 500. Having another look at the uninversion of the yield curve. That top has come in the green line. Other previous stock market tops marked in green. We're sort of still trending upwards, right? This is a tricky situation where it seems like we're at a very, very risky part of the market, but we've been rallying since the end of 2022. And yes, there might be a chance of exponential gains on risk assets because of liquidity we must tread carefully and take it day by day, because this could accelerate and the stock market could roll over from the levels mentioned previously, just before. So, something worth thinking about there. Dollar index, the Dixie. Let's open a Bitcoin chart. BTC, Bitstamp, new price scale. Let's mark it out with this. As you can see, with every pivot downwards from the Dixie, we see a large appreciation on Bitcoin, right? This situation that we're in currently, however, or even here actually, right? This situation has actually dumped first, and we're only now experiencing any upside as a result of the weakening of the dollar. So in terms of the duration, post these pivots, we can actually measure that right now. I haven't done this in my spare time, but this might be worth doing live, just so people can see like how long these periods have lasted in the past, and do I think that's going to last this long for the current bull market? And the answer to that is probably not. I think we're very, very close to the end if we hit 150 soon. I don't have a strict deadline or a date that I have in mind. This has actually just been going up this entire time, so I won't mark that. And if we were to take, let's say, the 370 days out, that would put us at next year. So there is a potential here to continue to rally up to 150 or so towards the end of this year. But we're sort of close to that anyway, so it's like a 50% move, and from these sort of regions of Bitcoin, we can expect that the 90% appreciation from the absolute lows, right? Let me put these charts back just so we can have a look properly. Apologies. So from these lows to these highs, you got 100%, 100% or 90% from these lows is around 140, 100% is like 150, and all these other moves, these expansions have been approximately 90%, right? So between 90 to 100% move from this low would be the 150-ish region, and we're sort of expanding towards there now. Do I think it's a straight line up, as mentioned before? Probably not, because of tether dominance potentially pivoting here, throwing another curveball. And I think something worth mentioning is the psychology of this market at the moment. There are a lot of people caught offside by this lockout rally, right? And the market has a very good way of punishing late longs. And once this region is touched, you'll notice that a lot of people who've been sidelined start to capitulate, and they start to purchase their spot holdings and longing the market. And that's sort of where we're expecting that pivot, right? And they get sold on, they get rinsed, and then another continuation goes after that. That is my analysis of the situation currently, but hopefully this is a bit more of, I guess, a longer video so people can get my sort of full perspective on the situation currently. Tau, in terms of the, sorry, this channel is not relevant anymore, but it's still on the chart. I'll just keep it there for now, doesn't matter. What else? BNB, got a small long on BNB, saw the breakout here. I think this is a good setup. It's not a massive position. I do think that BNB has the potential on at least going to this, lowish $1,000 region. Up here would only be like a 45,000 US dollar profit, which isn't too bad. I was going to size in a little bit more, but prefer not to risk too much at this point. I'm happy to ride lower sizes for the major expansion and holding through in the event of a dip. And if there is a dip at that 1618 region on USDT dominance, I get to have an opportunity to add to my positions. So now I don't know if there's anything else that I have to look at. No, not really. You guys have my perspective there. Hopefully that was helpful. We'll update you guys again at the 1618 region. Cheers.